Hello, folks. We're in the pre-production show here of the broadcast. Got a real special guest on in Ewan Downie today. If you're coming in later for the recorded version, look above me. You'll see after the recorded show is ended, I'll put the time in the video when the show actually starts. What I've done so far is I've got an invite out to my guest, Ewan Downie from Premier Gold, PG, one of my sponsors. And right now I'm going to go get everything live on my website. So this just takes me a moment. Give me a second here. Go back one page. Usually it takes a second or two to get everything live here. For those that have watched my shows before, you know the routine. Okay, I've got things almost set up here on my website so that we will have the show live there. I'm still awaiting my guest, Ewan, but Ewan's been on past shows. He should be on any second now. Well, I'm getting everything updated on my website, and I'm just going to go and make sure that
there, I'm fired up.
Oh, I hear my man Ewan in the background there. Good to hear you, Ewan.
How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm just about all set up here. Just give me a second, Ewan. I just got to confirm on my website that we're all live on my website and everything. I think everything is set up. How was the PDAC?
PDAC was very good. We got a lot accomplished, a lot of meetings, and still following through with some of the developments we're working on. So
I thought that would be kind of a good reason to get you on today, Ewan, kind of give us your feel for the PDAC as to how Premier, and then any observations you had.
Okay, sure.
So I'm all live and everything, Ewan. We're ready to roll here, so I'm going to get started. I'll bring you in like usual. Just let me get started here. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Allan Labucan here. I'm the founder of the Allan Reports and the host for the show. I've got a very special guest in Ewan Downie. Ewan is the President CEO of Premier Gold Mines, and Premier is one of the sponsors for my website. Thanks for coming on, Ewan.
Hey, thanks for having me on again. It's a good day. The Fed didn't hike, and gold's up, stock's up, so perfect day to be on.
Well, you know, Ewan, I was going to tell you later that I'm calling it the Ewan Downie effect now. The last time you were on was on December the 14th, which was almost the end of the bear market for gold that we've been suffering through for a long time. And so I'm hoping we get another couple $100 on the price of gold after having you on today.
Yeah, me too.
I better not go to the bank just yet, Ewan?
No, I wouldn't bank on that given this volatile market, but
you got that right.
Nice to see the gold getting some attention again.
You got it. And so before we get started, earlier this year, I started a new program. I had a new website sponsorship program, and the tradition is at the beginning of the show, I introduce my sponsors. I've already introduced Ewan as a sponsor with Premier Gold, and we're going to talk about Premier, so I don't think I need to give the little pitch for them today. My other sponsor, Wolfton Resources, is right now looking for a high-grade discovery of nickel and copper out in Manitoba, right outside of Snow Lake, and they're drilling the off the ice right now and searching for the feeder and the extension of the lower zone lower high-grade zone that's been quite exciting. My other sponsor just came on yesterday is West Red Lake Gold Mines. RLG is their symbol on the CSE. They've got a exploration play developing in Red Lake, Ontario that's actually I've been waiting to develop for about 10 years. There's a target there that's they have an east-west geological structure, and there's an intersection of another structure that has never been drilled, and they're in partnership with Goldcorp on that project. And now that hinge zone is a focus of their drilling. Ewan, I always ask the guests what they think of my sponsors. I think I know what you think about Premier. Wondering if you have any update for us on Wolfton, because you're involved with Wolfton. And are you watching my new sponsor, RLG, West Red Lake Gold?
Well, on Wolfden, just finishing up a drill program. I know the project well. I assisted Don in the acquisition. It's sort of my ability to be back playing in the base metals a bit. Don Hoy runs the company, a great explorationist with several discoveries under his belt. I'm looking for a nice successful program, good sulfide intercepts, and hopefully we continue to expand that mineralization at Rice Island. Red Lake Gold Mines, well, as you know, Red Lake's always been a bit dear to my heart. We're active in two areas, so I love the Red Lake camp. You never know what you're going to find when you drill in Red Lake. They're West Red Lake Gold Mines working over by the old Rowan mine. It's a small pass producer, narrow vein system, but when you follow those vein systems, you hope to hit the mother lode. So good luck to them.
I figured you'd have something reasonably positive to say. You and they kind of follow a bit of your philosophy, which is looking for new projects in the head frames of old ones. And an interesting part about this project is that on either side of that intersection of the structures, they have two mines on that east-west trend, old mines. And so I think they fit into, they got a good chance there. I got my fingers crossed. But thanks for that input, Ewan. Let's get on to Premier Gold Mines. That's why I got you on today. And PDAC, I saw you on BNN, and I was wondering how the PDAC went for Premier Gold Mines, Ewan.
We had a very successful PDAC. We had both a core shack and an investor's booth. So we were quite active, had a lot of people coming around. At the core shack, we were displaying core from our Hosaka property in Red Lake, which is an open pit target we're drilling. And yeah, we had a lot of good meetings. The PDAC always seems to be a good time to get together with some key investors, key individuals with other companies if you're looking at property deals, and financing groups. It seems the world congregates in Toronto for 4 or 5 days. So I thought that PDAC was really good for us this year. Felt a bit slower than other years in terms of traffic, which I actually found a good thing. Some years you can't get from the escalator to your booth. You run into so many people, and this year I managed to get to the booth a little more successfully, but also kind of when you get into that area, just put your head down and walk. Is I found a pretty good
old school hockey, get your elbows up.
Yeah.
Hey, Ewan, the Hosaka core at the PDAC, I'm interested in that. I'm sure that you got some different looks, considering it's a more of a bulk tonnage type of a target in Red Lake, which is known for more of what you have on your other project in Red Lake, which is high-grade veins. What was the reception from the geotypes looking at that rock?
I think, convincing people that to pay attention to a low-grade story in Red Lake is always a challenge. We always knew it would be a bit challenging of a task going in, but our intercepts are speaking for themselves. Were the original mines in Red Lake before the Campbell mine was found, where it all of a sudden became a high-grade camp? The Howie and Hosaka mines produced between the early 30s and the early 50s, and Howie was producing at just over 2 grams per ton underground at the time. So it's a bulk underground mine. So we're just following up on that structure that Howie and Hosaka mined about 640,000 ounces from underground methods, but more low-grade bulk underground methods back, 80 years ago. And we looked at that horizon they were mining and said, well, how much 1 gram material is sitting that could be scooped out from surface? And so far, it looks pretty good. And we're drilling another 50 to 60,000 meters in the current drill program.
And how does it look as far as grade? Is it under average of a gram? Is it over? Is it kind of in that high grade, low grade camp?
Yeah, there's two different horizons. There's a porphyry horizon that tends to be a little higher grade, but a little narrower, and then we have the central zone, which is appears to be a much broader zone, more more disseminated gold mineralization, which is a little lower grade, but very consistent mineralization. So in an open pit scenario, you can envision it having very low strip ratios because of the width of intercepts. And I'd think that overall the grade I'd expect will be somewhat similar to what we're seeing detour mining today. And you know, their stock's trading at $20 $20 a share right now, huge multi-billion-dollar market cap. And I'd like to think that our gold recoveries from based on the historic mining will be better than what you'd find at a detour or even a hard rock. And hopefully the strip ratio is lower. So, you know, with these bulk open pit targets, there's a big trade-off between grade and strip ratio.
You know,
So
Ewan, you bring up a good point there, because I think that often in the business that we kind of tend to put things into boxes, and sometimes those boxes have to be looked at a little more closely, because not all apples in that apple box are the same.
yes, exactly. You know, if you're mining like a hard rock is a, you know, plus 1 gram deposit, strip ratios in our PA were over 4 to 1. If you could find something that was, say, zero point 0.2 of a gram lower, but it was a 1 to 1 strip ratio, you're moving, instead of 5 tons of rock for every ton that's going through the mill, you're moving 2. So there is a trade-off. It costs you to move every single one of those tons, and sometimes a bit lower grade is better. And actually, when we look at hard rock currently, we're looking at it as, you know, we're trying to reduce strip ratios to make the economics look even better. So you're always hunting for grade versus strip ratio, and then recoveries, of course, are very important.
You'll learn that lesson as you get down there, anyways, right? At Hard Rock.
Yep.
Yeah. And before we move on to your other projects, while we're in Red Lake, Ewan, you know, you and I are big fans of Red Lake, and especially your sort of cornerstone project there, the high grade project with the big tunnel going through it. How's things going there, Ewan?
Well, we're drilling a new zone. We're still calling it the fold target. We haven't given it an official name yet, but about 200 meters south of the tram in our exploration drilling, we have a drill bay basically built every 400 meters, and we're drilling a long exploration hole, and we hit some interesting mineralization sort of midway along, and followed that up at the end of last year's program, and we had intercepts up to I believe 3.8 meters of 121 grams in some of our deeper drilling into that target. So we'll be following up that structure for most of this year, drilling from another drill bay. It's open going west. It's open to depth, and testing that area to see if we found a new fold in the same ultramafic package that hosts the Red Lake mine and the Campbell mine. So we're drilling a long strike from those mines, and we're testing. We started this year by stepping away from where we found this zone, but on this new interpreted structure, and tested another area. And I know we hit some good looking mineralization there too that we're waiting on assays. So if we find a couple of good centers of good grade mineralization right beside the tram, it's good days for us in Red Lake.
Game on, game on. That's great to hear. So you started to mention Hard Rock there. How's things going with Hard Rock?
It's moving along as expected. We finalized the deal with Centerra, so Centerra now holds a 50% interest in the project. They're sole funding the first 185 million into the project. So our ownership and their ownership are held in a jointly held company called Greenstone Gold Mines. It operates basically as a separate company with equal representation on the board from each Centerra and ourselves. We're in the midst of completing the full bankable feasibility study and expect to release that mid-year this year. Looking at 3.5 to 4.5 million ounce gold mine here in northwestern Ontario. Good infrastructure sitting right on the highway with a power line running right to it. So it's good place to be, good jurisdiction. We're working closely with all the local communities to make sure that everybody's happy about us building the mine, and so far so good. And lastly, what we'll need is later this year, early next year, is hope to get our permits in hand so that we can go ahead with the project.
You know, when you got involved there, that whole situation, you followed your classic sort of model. You went to where the old mines were and started looking there when there was a bit of an interest back in that area, and worked out very good for you. And now you've got a great partner on, and going to help build the company into the future.
Yeah, there were a few old holes drilled into that old mine structure. Mainly, they were testing for crown pillar continuity. Barrick did it years ago, and they didn't even assay the core they drilled, but they had the core was sitting in Geraldton in basically an open core facility, and we had a look at it, and they had tens of meters of mineralization, not continuous high grade, but you could see that there was consistent mineralization for tens of meters right at surface, and thought, much like a Cisco did at the old Canadian Malartic mine, how much low grade mineralization is around this old high grade mine, and we were successful at delineating a multi-million ounce deposit, and now moving towards full permits and feasibility. So hope to see construction start in late 2017 is our target.
In the meantime, well, you're kind of becoming you are a mining company now with your efforts down in Nevada. The move to Nevada was quite exciting. I've been following Premier Gold for years, as my audience will know. Anybody watching this for the first time, I've been watching Premier for a real long time. The move to Geraldton, Beardsmore area was one that kind of caught my attention. And you've really made a big move into Nevada. What's going on with your Nevada stuff? Give us sort of an overview of everything, if you would.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. We're really putting Nevada as a big focus for us. If you look at the Battle Mountain and Carlin trends, there's really no two better places in the world to find gold. Consistently you see Barrick, Newmont finding new deposits, building new mines, and we've been looking for years to establish ourselves in Nevada, but more importantly, we wanted to be established right in the middle of either the Carlin and the Battle Mountain trend. And most of the key ground in those trends is owned by primarily Newmont and Barrick, and Goldcorp had some as well. We were able to buy Goldcorp's interest in South Arturo, a mine that was just permitted and had just basically, they were waiting to put the shovels on the ground, and Goldcorp held 40%. We've got a good relationship with Goldcorp over the years, and we've done several deals, and we convinced them it was a good idea to sell it to us, and that project's now in full construction. There's stockpiles of mill ore that we expect will be trucked to the Cortez mill in the coming months, and that project ramps into full production in the third quarter. So that's an asset that really is transitioning Premier from being solely an explorer to a developer and soon to be producer. And that mine at $1,100 gold is expected to spin off $40 million in positive cash flow for the year for us this year. And $1,250, that number goes up significantly. So go gold, go is a good way to put it.
Just goes right to the free cash flow, right, Ewan?
Yeah, and it's Barrick building it, it's Barrick operating it. The ore is being processed at Barrick's existing facilities, so it's a very low execution risk for a company moving into development, which was attractive to us. It gave us another partner in Barrick, so hopefully there's other opportunities we can look at with Barrick or not with Barrick in the future, and really an exciting opportunity. Parked us right in the heart of the Carlin trend, 5 kilometers from the Gold Strike pit, and the Meikle mine is right just several kilometers to the south. So we're sitting in one of the best gold addresses you'll find on the planet, and really will make.
Project that makes sense at $1,100 an ounce gold. That's a pretty good address and a pretty good project to be involved with. You and I think if my memory serves me right, the last time we spoke, you were mentioning that something like 30,000 ounces is expected for your account from that project this year. Is that
No,
right?
no, it's 80,000 for us.
80.
So it's a pretty big bump. Most of that comes in the second half. That's why our cash flow will really ramp up in the second half. And we're also drilling a high grade underground potential deposit immediately below that pit where we've had a lot of success, including at the sort of third quarter of last year, we announced intercepts up to 25 grams over 27 meters. And that's one of the best holes ever announced in Premier's history. And that's
Well, if you take into consideration the grade and the thickness, that's for certain, eh?
yeah, it's a nice grade, big underground zone, and we're working on the permitting with Barrick. So hopefully, as soon as we're done mining this phase 2 pit, as it's called, we'll drive a ramp into the underground zone. And 2019, hopefully, that'll be producing gold for our company as well. And there's another high grade underground opportunity to the east that we'll be drilling in 2017. So it's a property with good upside. Really transitions Premier to producer status, and really complements our McCoy Cove property, where we've had great success in drilling new targets. It's one of those properties we've drilled 4 or 5 pure exploration holes, and we've hit gold mineralization
Now,
essentially.
where is that in relation to the South Arturo?
South Arturo's in the Carlin Trend at the Gold Strike mine. The McCoy Cove property is in the Battle Mountain Trend, immediately south of Newmont's Phoenix mine. So it's right in amongst the mines there. Past producing mine that produced 3.3 million ounces of gold and over 100 million ounces of silver, shut down in 2003 when gold went down to $1,275. But the higher grade underground opportunity there was largely overlooked, very little exploration. And we have the Helen Zone deposit that contains in measured, indicated, and inferred resources of over 400,000 ounces at nearly 10 grams per ton. That zone's open along strike. We stepped out several hundred meters along trend, hit 25 meters of 6.2 grams gold and 162 grams silver. So we're filling that gap in this year. We have a permit that we could start ramping into that deposit. Along strike and below that, we discovered our 2201 zone. Our last step out hole in the 2201 zone was over 180 grams gold. It's wide open. And then we drilled a hole midway between the 2 pits at the end of last year's drill program, just to test those deeper rock units. And we hit 2 what we consider ore grade intercepts in 2 horizons. And there's no hole for essentially a kilometer either way from that hole. And
As you were saying all that, I was thinking, I've heard people say that, you have to be really good at your elevator pitch. You want to be able to pitch your deal in a ride in the elevator. And I was just thinking, as you were describing everything, let's see, how long is Ewan's elevator pitch? Because they all sound really good.
The elevator pitch has got to be, we got to go up the CN Tower and not take that CN Tower elevator, put in a normal elevator and be able to sit there for 15 minutes and give the view on each story. It's I always say that Premier's like 5 companies in one.
Well, and Ewan, that is part of what excites me about the future as well for the company, because I see so many opportunities in the last big bull cycle. A lot of the companies got taken out, and so we don't have a lot in the mid-size in the gold space. And that creates a phenomenal amount of opportunities out there in projects that don't make a lot of sense to the bottom line of majors, but they can be company builders to the right middle or junior company that's trying to grow into middle tier. And it really seems to me that that's what you're building here, Ewan.
Yeah, that's our goal, is to, rather than be a company that's trying to set itself up to be acquired, we're trying to set ourselves up to be an acquirer. And we feel several good deals. I think our our strength has always been in identifying that project that has some great exploration potential and advancing that exploration potential from an idea to a resource, and then now we've got 2 of those moving towards development. But that said, I think we're a company that's definitely interested in looking at producing companies, looking at producing assets. You know, the majors over the last bunch of years and the way they've tried to grow, they've taken on so many billions in debt. Now they're trying to pay it down, and some of that pay down is by their non-core assets. And those, like you said, those non-core assets could be a company maker for a company like ours, especially if we're able to focus on maybe some of the smaller assets that they don't focus on because they're worried about delivering X number of ounces to the market per year. And maybe when you're trying to deliver, keep growing your ounce delivery to the market, maybe you're not most efficiently running your mine. So it's a real opportunity we look at.
You know, Ewan, I've kind of thought that there's been in my career since I started in the early 90s, I think there's been a bit of a shift go on where the big mining companies used to be run by more rock kind of guys, especially out here in Vancouver. I think of the Kevils and their company Tech. And I think that a lot of the majors now are run more by bean counters than by rock guys. And I think we need a company run by a rock guy. And you're 2nd or 3rd generation rock guy, aren't you, Ewan?
Yeah, 2nd generation.
2nd generation, good. Well, and do you see the same thing as me, Ewan? I mean, you've just talked about a couple projects there that used to belong to majors, and it looks like they kind of overlooked some the depth potential.
Yeah, there was, before I guess the downturn that we saw start in the late 1990s and go well into 2000s, we had our uptick, and then the recent downturn, a lot of focus on properties, especially that you look at Nevada as being on near surface mineralization. And now we're seeing at Cortez, at Turquoise Ridge, even Gold Strike, they're finding these high-grade deposits, Leeville that Newmont found just in that area. So now they're going a bit deeper and finding that they're getting these high-grade, more refractory style deposits, but often quite large, good grade, and there's lots of infrastructure around to process that. So other properties like McCoy Cove, they had 2 pits. They were open pit mining in 2003 and shut down when gold went down to 250, 275. And in those last several years, probably barely breaking even, their focus wasn't on, hey, can we find a good high grade mine underneath this?
And they're looking at their budget and saying, well, we got to spend money over here to build this, where we're going to get X amount of dollars out of that.
Yep.
And instead of, hey, well, you know what, you might have left the best part of this over here.
Yeah, and the open pit mines are easier to run if they're heap leach. The processing is easier, but often the mines with the best margin are the higher grade mines, and often you have to go underground to mine those. So that's something we're definitely looking at. If there was an opportunity for us to find a nice narrow vein, smaller mine that you have good margin on your gold, we could be a company that every year, hopefully in the future, is adding to its cash balance, not adding to its debt load. And you see how well Randgold's performing by having that attitude of, we don't take on necessarily debt. We're going for quality projects. They don't have to be the biggest mines in the world, but they have good margin. And we look at them as a great example of how a company should be run, and like to sort of fashion ourselves off their philosophy going forward.
Well, and I really like that bottom line approach to everything, Ewan. And I think you're right on the money. It's like any business. You got to be able to make money at that business, and you want to look closely at everything you own, rationalize everything you own, do the right job on everything you own, and keep looking for stuff that makes sense. $1,100 gold. I don't think you're going to have to worry about $1,100 gold a lot coming up here, Ewan. Let's talk a little bit about gold. As I said, the last time you were on, gold was suffering from about a 4 or 5 year bear market, It looks like we turned the corner early in the new year. I'd been on top of that, looking for that change in direction for a couple of years now, based on my feelings on the long-term supply chain being so weak. I think we touched on a little bit of that earlier with the state of the mining business. But I'm thinking we've turned that corner, Ewan, and we're headed to a stronger market again. And what really excites me is seems to be a little bit of a renaissance in exploration. What are you seeing out there these days with the gold market, Ewan?
Well, we're definitely seeing, I think what's been lacking and what's really been hurting is not a lot of boots on the ground exploration. All the real true juniors who are the idea generators, the guys who are out still prospecting, who often make the next discovery. Those companies have had no money, so seeing that money come back in is good. I've been predicting gold to move up. Last couple of years, I've been wrong, but I just think that when the world is in a race to devalue everyone's currency against each other, long term, that can only be good for gold. And I don't know who these policymakers are who think that continuing to just print money and take on debt is good for the future. Sometimes that debt and that money printing is going to come to roost and taking a little longer. But even though we've had these extreme quantitative easing programs to bolster the economy to extents never before seen in history, the numbers coming out of even the US aren't that rosy. So I think that experiment has semi-failed, that the free money does not make the whole economy bounce back. And at some point we're going to see, might see a few difficult years down.
Well, I especially agree, Ewan, when all that stimulus money goes into the bankers' pockets and looking after that side of if they had thrown that stimulus money into rebuilding their infrastructure in the States and building new roads to fix the old roads, there would have been more of a trickle down effect in the stimulus. But because it just went into the banksters' hands, who sort of fix their balance sheet problems. You're right. Every country in the world is in a race to zero on their currency, and I'm just a country reporter here, Ewan. But a race to zero is not one I want to win.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not big looking for races to zero to win. Another thing that came up not long ago, I had Eric Coffin on the show. And he brought a chart up, Ewan, of all the countries that since the economic collapse that stimulated and then got down to their interest rates really low and then started moving them up again, how quickly they turned course on that. And then most of them are back down to zero. In the case of Japan and a couple others, the interest rates are below zero. In that kind of a scenario, I'm much more comfortable owning gold, oil, silver, copper, uranium, diamonds, pretty much anything but fiat currencies.
Yeah, what other cards do they have left to try to make things work? It's almost like they've used up all their shells and stand there with an empty gun now going, well, what next?
So it looks like we're in a better market for sure. Hopefully it continues. I'm gonna hang my hat on the Ewan Downie effect. I'm hoping that this is another launch point for the price of gold, Ewan.
Maybe it's really an Allan effect for me.
All right, well, that sounds great, Ewan. I think we did a real good job of giving everybody an outline on everything that's going on, Ewan. You talked about so many things. What are the ones that are kind of in the immediate horizon as far as, let's say, over the next 3 months or so? What are some from that menu you gave us of projects to look at? What can we see for developments in the next few months?
I think for the next 3 months, we're primarily going to see drill results coming out of Red Lake, both at Hosaka and from the tram. Secondly, we'll see drill results coming out of McCoy Cove. as we're hopefully going to extend the Helen zone towards that broad intercept that we think is the same horizon, which could add a lot of ounces. And then as we head into looking at 6 months is when we'll see a feasibility study coming out of Hard Rock. That's a major milestone for our company. And in the third quarter, when we achieve full production at South Arturo, and Premier goes from a company that has a bank account that's shrinking every month to a company whose bank account's increasing every month. And we're sitting right now on about 50 million in cash, but we expect to end the year with about 85 plus Canadian. And it's nice to sit, and that's using $1,100 gold scenario. So it's nice to sit here and say by year end we're going to have a lot more cash than we have today, and we're in a good position to continue growing our business.
Wow, really compelling story, Ewan. I want to. I think that my audience, a lot of my audience, already does follow the company, and even my mom's a shareholder, Ewan. So you're making her real happy these days.
Well, we're doing our best. Say hi to your mom.
I will for sure. And another thing that I'm quite excited about now that you just updated me on what's coming up, Ewan, is I think that we're coming into a period when the exploration results are going to be better received by the market, and the fact that you're looking for high grade down there in below McCoy coal pits, and you're looking for high grade up in Red Lake, and also a new twist to something in Red Lake. I'll be watching closely for more drill results.
Okay, well, yeah, it's as you know, I'm background's exploration, so I really like the drill results. We get little updates from every site every day, so we get to visually hear what's going on, and every week it's sort of a summary of significant results. And once we sort of finish our delineation drilling at Hosaka, we'll have probably 50, 60 holes to announce, and then we're stepping out along strike, and hopefully we continue to hit mineralization as we continue to look to expand that mineralization. And really excited about some of the drilling we're doing this year from the tram, and especially that new hole we just drilled in that new area that hit similar mineralization to what we're seeing at the Fold target. And if we have two good centers of gold mineralization to follow up from the tram, maybe we'll see, instead of one drill working underground, two drills in the future.
Well, you have suffered from the same thing as me. You get a little twinkle in your eye when you start talking about exploration, and so I'm pretty excited about the drilling that you guys are doing. And I guess from what you're saying is, it sounds like there's going to be a stream of drill results, not just one or two news releases here.
Yeah, we have two Red Lake properties. We expect results. The Hosaka drilling will continue well into the third, maybe in the fourth quarter. So steady news coming out of that property. When we step into the new ground we bought in December from Pure Gold, we always hope that as you're drilling these open pit targets, you hit some new high grade zone. So fingers crossed, as that drill is turning, we turn up something new in the camp. We've got a 1.2 kilometer strike along that favorable horizon where, that Madsen trend, so to speak, Madsen, Howie, Hosaka, with no drill holes in it. So it's a nice spot to throw a few holes and see what's there.
You got it, you. And on that note, I think you did a great job for giving us a good update on everything, you. And thanks again for coming on. And I'm going to get you on again soon as well, especially when we start seeing some of those drill results.
Okay, sounds good. I always enjoy being on your show, Allan.
Okay, I'm going to wrap things up. Before I do, I want to say thank you to my sponsors, my viewers, and the guests. You all make this show possible, and I also want to stress that this show is for information purposes only. Before making any investment decisions, it's important to do your homework and speak with your financial advisors. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.